Hi there guys, I'm Ollie from lockdownunite.com and I'm joined here today with Rusty Payne and Derek, aka the Coachman. So we're going to ask them a couple of questions. Did you want to both sort of introduce yourself a little bit first?
Yeah, hi, I'm Derek.
That's it, just Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek, is that it?
Oh.
So can you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves, please?
So my name is Rusty Payne, and basically what I get up to on a daily basis is basically researching on the agenda of what's behind going on with the world right now, like the lockdown restrictions, COVID-19 and everything else. I used to be a professional scooter rider, but obviously I was sharing about certain things and my Instagram got taken down, so I brought it upon myself to actually become an urban journalist and go to these protests and ask people questions, the reason why they are here today, you know, when did they wake up to all of this draconian nonsense. So yeah, that's basically what I do, and yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm Derek. I was on the Bournemouth coach
A police escort, ladies and gentlemen.
when it got stopped, so hence I'm writing a book about it, and I'm calling it The Coachman.
No!
Oh, she's getting necked.
Don't manhandle her that badly!
Leave her alone.
Leave her alone! We complied, we gave you our details, and you illegally held us on this bus for 2.5 hours, and now you're handcuffing her! We should have been allowed to leave this bus when we gave you our details!
It's going to be about the protest scene, obviously about COVID-19 coronavirus, and all the agendas behind it, basically, which is what we want to share with you today, and where we think the world is going. A bit about my background: I'm an engineer. I've got a degree in computer systems, electronics, and you know, I basically woke up to this in kind of around the beginning of the first lockdown, and something just didn't seem right.
Yeah. That's a good segue, as it's called, in the podcast world. So my first question for you is, how did you get involved with this movement and the sort of the truth movement, I suppose? Just tell us a bit about your sort of how you got into it, really. Did you want to go first?
So basically, you know, I've always been a truther. I've always told the truth. You know, I've always tried to seek the truth in any form of sense that has ever been brought to the world. I don't know, whenever I come into this movement, I just took it upon myself to go and find these events and you know, just bring myself there. I'm just a person on my own. I don't go with a group or anyone else. You know, I feel like it's my sole duty to go out there and give everyone else a voice on what's going on with the world. You know, not many people actually get to voice their opinions. So many nurses and people that have these high qualifications, like scientists and that come to these protests, and they don't get their voice heard because they don't get given a platform for their voice to be heard. And if they do, they get their platform destroyed. So if it's coming from someone that isn't a known person to the scientific background and not a known person to the nursing background and NHS and that, it's good for me to get it out there for them, because some of these people might want to keep their identity covered, do you know what I mean, for training purposes, so they can carry on saving people's lives, you know, that are too scared to speak up because they're losing, you know, their rights.
Sure, yeah, totally. Cool.
Yeah, and this is the whole problem, isn't it? Our rights being, you know, really stolen from us, really. You know, me personally, when we had the first lockdown and, you know, coronavirus first became a big thing, to begin with, I was genuinely concerned, you know, and I mean, I even rooted for Boris Johnson when he was in the hospital, you know. I even rooted for Boris Johnson when he was in the hospital, you know. But then after that, it just didn't seem right, and the death figures just didn't seem right. And then, of course, we learned that, you know, it's they're dying for any reason. As you can see on the BBC, read the small print. It says death for any reason within 28 days of a positive test, and I really don't think people are seeing this. What do you think? I mean, are people not seeing that small print?
Well, the thing is, no one's seeing that small print, and guess what? Yeah, now that the vaccination has just came out, funny enough, they are upping that test positive for 28 days. They're now
60 days.
Yeah, now they're upping it to 60 days. So you've got to think, if someone is test positive, you're going to test positive anyway if you're wearing a face mask, because carbon dioxide obviously causes infections into the lung. So the PCR test, the COVID-19 test that they're testing everyone, tests for any infections in the body. So
that's it. They're not testing for
they're
a
not
virus.
testing for COVID-19, because COVID-19 is not the virus. The virus is SARS-CoV-2. Do you understand?
Yes,
So the COVID-19 is not actually the virus.
Yes.
The virus that they tell you that's all over the news.
Exactly.
It's
They're
absolutely
testing
everywhere.
genetic material,
Yeah.
which could actually be caused by a number of different respiratory illnesses, flus, common colds, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
is the way I understand it.
And that's why the PCR test only has a 7% positive rate to it. So 93% of that could be a false positive. You know, you can amplify.
And is that because the amplification is so high? They're using a very high cycle count, which is actually way above what they should be using. I think they should be using a maximum of 35, and they're using like 45. Would that be the correct numbers?
Yeah. So that's basically right what you're going on about, there too. And the thing is, these tests are done in such an unhumane way. You know, if you think about, like, okay, blood tests, I understand for blood tests, for something that's really serious, and you get blood tests for HIV and stuff like that, or hepatitis B and stuff like that. So really, you know, if it's that serious, you know, and you need to find out with a cold and everything, you don't need it to be that far up your nose.
No,
you know?
It's uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable, you know, and if you're going to be bringing into mass testing in schools and everything else, that is not right for children to have that far up their nose.
And another thing is, they never tell us how many tests they're taking.
No.
It's completely misrepresented, because they might tell you how many cases they've got. I mean, anyone can count cases, but if they don't tell you what that figure they're testing with is, that how many total tests they're doing, how is that a true representation?
It's not really a true representation.
It's not, is it?
I would like to know how many people that they're testing, you know, because I'm pretty sure I saw in the news that there's like 400,000 people that have tested positive or something, or what was it? It's something, how many people tested positive?
I'm not sure. I don't follow the figures day to day.
So I'm not too sure anyway. There was an almighty number on there, and I'm thinking, wow, how many of that number out of those whole people have you tested? In that whole number, how have you got that many positive tests?
A lot of these figures, they're not even testing people, are they? They're counting. They're looking at symptoms and saying,
looks at whether a person has ever tested positive for coronavirus, and then whether they're still alive at a later date. So that means that anyone who's ever tested positive for coronavirus is included in the death figures, even if they've died from something else. So one pretty startling example is a person could test positive, be successfully treated and discharged, say in April time, and then in June could be run over by a bus and die. That person would still count as a COVID death in England. Meanwhile, in Scotland and in Northern Ireland, they only include deaths in the daily death count if someone dies within 28 days of having a positive test. Now, this team from Oxford University argue that the current definition in England means no one with COVID is allowed to ever recover from their illness, the way that's currently processed. So yes, so as you say, the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, has now called for an urgent review into how that data is processed in England.
You know, without actually testing them, I believe, as well. I think that's been shown in medical records that I've seen as well.
Yeah. I've seen it on someone's death certificate too, that came in for a heart attack, but where he tested positive within those 28 days, it went down as COVID, like COVID-19.
Shocking.
How can you die of COVID-19 when COVID-19 doesn't even stand for the virus? You know, the COVID-19 doesn't stand for SARS-CoV-2. And if you want to research
it's
that,
effectively just a label, isn't it?
it literally is. they're saying that this many people have died of COVID-19, but that's not actually the virus. COVID-19 has nothing to do with it. That's the branding. They have branded this virus COVID-19. You know, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy how everyone is just didn't believe the government before. You know, no one trusted Boris Johnson. Let's go back 10 years ago with Boris Johnson. Actually, I think it was 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago with Boris Johnson. You know, he didn't care about the Islamic faith anyway. He was telling people that Muslim ladies look like post boxes. And then that was...
That a prime minister of this great nation would use the terms bank robber and letterbox to describe Muslim women who wear a burqa.
Well, and then that was on Russell Howard's Good News. And now, you look at all of these people and the person that told Muslim people that they were post boxes, and now, basically, post boxers themselves. You know, they're wearing these face masks from someone that told you not to wear face coverings and cover up your face because it's a form of terrorism. But now he's got the whole country following this terrorism way then, if you want to put it in that way. Because that's how I look at it.
And another thing was, it was Kerry Mullis that invented the PCR, the RT-PCR test. He
it was tested for AIDS. It was made for AIDS.
It was used for AIDS. It's also used for other illnesses as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's quite common in the medical world, in actual fact.
Yeah,
so I don't know if it's adapted or for each different situation, I don't really know. But I just know that Kerry Mullis said that it should not be used for infectious diseases.
No, and it shouldn't be on a mass testing.
And that is on record, isn't
it? What's that guy's name again?
Kerry Mullis.
So Kerry Mullis, so tell all of these people on here, it's Kerry Mullis. If you go and research him and type him in, basically go and do your research for yourself and just research that name, and he will tell you he was the one that created the PCR
and research the RT-PCR test and research it.
Misuse PCR to estimate all these supposed free viral RNAs that may or may not be there.
I think misuse PCR is not quite. I don't think you can misuse PCR. No, the results, the interpretation of it. See, if you can say, if they could find this virus in you at all, and with PCR, if you do it well, you can find almost anything in anybody. It starts making you believe in the sort of Buddhist notion that everything is contained in everything else, right? I mean, because if you can amplify one single molecule up to something that you can really measure, which PCR can do, then there's just very few molecules that you don't have at least one single one of them in your body, okay? So that could be thought of as a misuse of it, just to claim that it's meaningful. It is. No, there's very little of what they call HIV, and what's been brought out here by Philpott and Isai already, the measurement for it is not exact at all. It's not as good as our measurement for things like apples. An apple is an apple. You know, you can get something that's kind of like, if you got enough things that look kind of like an apple and you stick them all together, you might think of it as an apple.
And I'm pretty sure you will find out that all this evidence is true. It's testing for symptoms, not viruses. You know, it shouldn't be used for infectious diseases, etc., etc. The thing that strikes me about this whole situation we're in, this whole COVID-19 situation, is once you start to think about it critically and question it, it's surprising where you go with it. Because 100%. The more you think about it, the more you research it, the less and less it makes sense. And you just keep going off in different tangents, and you keep on connecting up the dots, and you really start to see how false it all is.
Yeah.
You know, like you've got the funding with Bill Gates, and you know, I mean, like, you know, you know, I mean, it's just like he's got his fingers in so many pies. You know, I don't know what you think about that, Rusty.
I don't know. Well, let's get on to the next question anyway.
Cool.
And we might have to cross that river when it comes.
So my next question for you is, so obviously we all in this room believe that the coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, scamdemic, pandemic, whatever, is about control and is trying to, you know, gather some sort of, I don't know how to word it, like, well, take away our rights. So my question is to you guys is, why are they doing it, and what's the reason behind this whole scandemic, whatever you want to call it? So what, if that makes sense? Why is it now, and why is it happening essentially?
I think do we start with the Agenda 21 perhaps, and then
let's start with the agenda.
Shall I pause? Shall I stop?
So you can either work it back or you can work it forward.
Okay.
We should look on the reason why they have picked it in this time zone. Yeah.
Okay.
And we will look from the past 30 years of how everything has happened in life. You've got to realise that demasculisation to the human race is a big part of it too. You know, we're so obsessed with outside of ourselves than inside of ourselves. You know, we are now being taught in schools that there's 100 different genders. You know, and I believe that people that, you know, want to cut genitalia off and everything else, that's a form of a mental illness, because, you know, there is gay people, and then there's straight people, and there's male and females. You know, obviously some males are more feminine than other males, and some females are all masculine than others. And obviously they love, you know, the same sex.
It's a divide and conquer strategy, isn't
God
it?
has given you these things in your body for a reason. He hasn't given you these things so this plastic society of genetic intelligence, this transhumanism into AI, to make you into a woman and stuff like that. You know, this is where they can control you anyway, because you're not going to think about anything else except from your outer self and what you look out at yourself. So they can just control you with their agenda.
So are they trying to divide us with gender as well?
100%. Because obviously this agenda goes into, you know, if they can make you believe there's 100 different genders, they can make you believe that it's okay for animals and humans to make life forms. Do you understand? And then that these life forms, don't actually have any rights because they're alien to us. They don't actually have rights.
Oh, right.
So then it goes down to that, you know, it's getting your mind into the condition that it's okay for half human and half animal things to be born. Do you understand? And I know this sounds absolutely crazy, and you might think, oh, he's transgenderophobe or anything like that. It's not that I'm transgenderophobe. You know, everyone is a male and a female. Yeah, you know, there's gay people and straight people, and gay people. Yeah, I respect anyone that loves anything into the world. I don't believe there is any race, creed or religion or anything to do with that. I just see people as people. Yeah, so when I see someone that's going through this hard time of thinking, you know, he's a man or he's a woman and something like that, they need to be talked down. They need to be talked to, and they need help to actually think like, you really want to cut everything off, or you know, you really want to change yourself that much. The reasons why they want to be changed that much is because it's everywhere. You know, okay, like it's everywhere. Do you understand what I mean? It's all of this stuff is everywhere. It's all planted in your mind everywhere. Do this, do that. It's okay to do this. It's okay to do that. This has been put there by our government.
Yeah, it's the media and the government constantly programming us, just like they've programmed
to
the population.
demasculise us.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I have a question that sort of relates to that. I agree with the media part, like that they do perpetuate that. But do you think, so obviously we're fighting for our rights, our freedom. Do you think, as somebody, so say like someone who's non-binary, you know, non-binary, that's as in they
don't know if they're male or female.
they you know, they're questioning.
Think that's absolute nonsense. How can you come into the world and not think like, I'm non-binary? You know, that's going to make it into a whole situation of like, okay, right, there's no, so this whole thing with fascism, you're fighting against fascism. Well, there won't be such thing as fascism, because it'll be against everyone. Yeah. If you have these different genders, these binary genders, it doesn't mean like where you're from or anything. You will be under this, you know, martial law, because it doesn't matter if you're male or female or bi. You know, you're going to be a slave to this system anyway. Do you understand? There's no
so
way
we should just explain the system a bit more. Like,
yeah.
I mean, if you take Agenda 2030, which I think is the main agenda that we're following from the United Nations at the moment, or that they're enforcing onto us, if you like. So Agenda 2030, as in the year 2020, 2030, is the space of time that they're planning to bring all this out. And isn't it just sort of uncanny how we started this year quite normally, you know, and then we just get like a few weeks into last year we started last year quite normally. We just get a few weeks into the year, and all of a sudden everything gets turned on its head, you know. So that's it. It's begun, you know. They've kicked off transforming the world, and the way I see it, or my understanding is, you've got the background agenda, which is Agenda 21, which is really quite a deep subject. But then you've got the Agenda 2030, which is like a narrowing of it, just in this decade, of bringing it in under a sort of
fourth industrial revolution.
Fourth industrial revolution, and what they're really trying to do with Agenda 2030 is kind of package it up all nice and sort of neat, and make it look a good thing. There's a big misrepresentation of where they want to take the world, really.
This explains basically the fourth industrial revolution, like I'm saying to you about transgender, and you know, if everyone is comfortable with that, then transhumanism with AI and for artificial intelligence, because now you're artificially being made, you know, with surgery, you know, it's conditioning the human brain into thinking it's okay to be part robot, it's okay for, you know, AI to control my mind. And
if
I literally didn't realise this into it, because, you know, I used to be all for, like, you know, if he's suffering with like not wanting to be a male anymore, like, who's got the right to tell him that he can't be? And then I started researching into it more and thinking, they have started demasculising us into believing that it's okay to change ourselves, even like the genitals as well, so then they can turn us into robots. And I just couldn't believe that's like what the fourth industrial revolution is all about. Like, basically, we'll all be put onto a state benefit, and then all of these main corporations like Amazon and Google, or anything to do that you know you can buy offline, will be a drone to your front door. And most people will be like, that's so cool, that'd be so cool. But the thing is, you won't be allowed to leave your house. The government will give you money. You know, they'll tell you when to eat, sleep, shit or breathe, to be honest with you, to understand. So this is where they trick you into thinking it's okay for us to control your mind with the Neuralink from Elon Musk.
I was going to ask you about that, yes.
And you know, and this is how it goes down this Galilean dialect, and this is how they do it. Now that they've demasculised us, and you know, 30, 40 years ago, we knew about this. This goes even back even further in ancient Greek times. They were gay people then. You know, we've always lived amongst gay people in like this thing. So
if you watch the Romans,
100%.
Like Spartacus and stuff like that, there were lots of gay men and gay gladiators. And
So like we have. For our planet, we have come to a realisation that happens. You know, we've come to a realisation that happens. You know?
Well, there's gay animals as well.
100%. That's what I mean. When you start to think these things over way too much, it causes a mental illness, and it starts to make you judge yourself like, you know, actually I'm not a man, I need to change myself into a woman. No, you are just attracted to men. You know, there's no mental illness to that. It's not that you need to change yourself to be a woman to be still attracted to men. You're attracted to men. Live it. You know, God has made you that way. You know, God didn't say in the Bible that, you know, people are gay, like you can't, like that. That was a law that was made, you know, from Christians to say like it's a sin, when it wasn't a sin in the beginning anyway. So anyway, let's get back onto the topic of the Galilean dialect. Now that they've demasculised us and we've gone into that, the Galilean dialect is where they do it in small 3 increments basically. So then you think of it, we'll do the first increment with what's going on. So the problem at the beginning of 2020, just at the end of 2019, we had COVID-19. So that's the problem. Mm-hmm. So then our reaction to COVID-19 is face masks. Yeah, and so we carry on wearing these face masks. We keep getting bacterial pneumonia, and then to keep testing positive because of the infection that's building up from the carbon dioxide poisoning, you know. And then boom, sorry, we were talking about the Gaelian dialect and how basically they do it in these small increments and how they condition you into following and complying. So basically, look at it when COVID-19 first started. COVID-19 is, so basically Gaelian dialect is problem, reaction, solution. So I'm going to go through problem, reaction, solution. So the problem was COVID-19 at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of 2020, just at the end of 2019. And that was the problem. That was a big problem. Everyone was so worried about it. So then to make everyone feel safe again, the reaction, as I like to call it, was face masks. Everyone wears face masks. See how many comply with face masks, yeah? And we'll see. And then guess what the solution is, people? The vaccination, okay? So this is their 3 increments that they've done in the space of a year, not, you know, just under a year. And they've done these 3 increments already for people. So then we'll go on to, this is just the first wave, we'll go on to the second wave right now. And the second wave will be vaccine injured people. They'll be disabled or something from the vaccination. That's the problem.
This is already happening.
This is already starting to happen. This is
people having bad reactions.
This is the second wave. Did you understand why they were telling you about the second wave now? The second wave is the Gaelian dialect, what they're saying. This is
so
the
by
second
talking
wave.
about a second wave of COVID-19, they're preparing us for a second wave of vaccine.
No, they are basically getting you ready for the second wave of their Gaelian dialect. It comes in nines, yeah. It basically comes in threes. Yeah, it goes 3, 6, 9, yeah, and in 9 it goes in 9 years. The way they do it, gender 30, it goes to the end 30. Yeah, right. Okay. So let's get back onto it. So the next second wave is the problem. The problem is people that are getting disabled from the vaccination, people that die. Okay, depopulation happens, and you've got the people that are injured from it and now disabled. The reaction is to give them state benefit, disability living allowance, and basically get them comfortable with being disabled and in their condition. And then the solution will be, would you like to stop being disabled? We have this technology called the Neuralink that will help you get your abilities back from the seizures that it caused and everything that you've been seeing all over the internet lately.
Several people appear to suffer from a severe allergic reaction sometime before Sunday, within 24 hours of taking the CCP virus vaccine. According to the health department, the potentially allergic reactions look like anaphylaxis. A swollen face, hives, and trouble breathing are symptoms of this reaction, but anaphylaxis can also be deadly.
I took the Pfizer vaccine. Since I took that vaccine, it has completely changed my life.
In America, a video of a woman suffering convulsions after receiving a coronavirus jab has fanned safety fears. According to her son, she hadn't experienced any kind of health issues prior to having the shot. But it's not the first time concerns have been raised over the safety of the jab. Norway is currently investigating the deaths of dozens of elderly people who recently received the vaccine.
I recently took the COVID-19 vaccination.
So they will put this Neuralink into your brain, either the front of your brain or even into your hand if they need to put it into your hand, because your right hand has a lot of pulses and stuff that can connect to your brain anyway. So that you know, basically that is where that comes into place. But in this reaction that I told you about with people being on state benefit, but people that don't believe with this agenda, will be put into these concentration camps too. There'll be like concentration camps.
As in Germany?
Yeah, so like COVID-19 detention centres that people that don't comply with the government lies, basically. So that's
they're building them now, aren't
they're
they?
Building them now,
They finished any yet?
Yeah, so they finished them over in Germany. Right. So if you just type in Germany COVID-19 detention centres. detention centres. It will literally come up with all of the stuff that is going on
And
about.
do you know of any being built in England?
Not too sure yet. Probably under the covers.
Probably will.
Yeah, and now this going into the third wave of the Gaelian dialect. So this will be the third wave. This is what they're going to be telling you very soon. This will probably come in at around about April time, that they start telling you about the third wave of COVID. Yeah. So this third wave will be that the problem will be that people not compliant, the riots. Okay. Yeah. Detention centres, mass detention centres, mass putting people in detention centres because they're not compliant. And then the solution, yeah, is if you do not believe that the government is God, and I know this is going to sound so scary, if you do not believe that the government is God, the only solution for you is, you know, you don't exist no more because you're not a part of their system. If you don't want to be a part of their system, okay, it's easy. Decapitation, that's the most humane way for you. Gas chambers, lethal injection. Do you understand? Because if you're not a part of their fourth industrial revolution, so you're not a monetary of value anymore. Because where you know.
So perhaps we should talk about the mass vaccination program, which is part of Agenda 2030.
Yes.
Probably part of Agenda 21 as well.
100%.
Yeah. Because essentially it's all the same thing.
Yeah,
but if you were to go onto the vaccination program, which I believe is on the WHO, where it says the WHO and also well, let's just concentrate on the UN because it's all coming from the United Nations, yeah. So and this funnels down to the WHO because the WHO are they're funded, aren't they, by United Nations, Bill Gates, etc. I think what I'm driving at is if you go onto this vaccination program on the WHO, basically they are saying that they want to leave no one behind. They want to vaccinate us all. Obviously, coronavirus vaccinations.
Yeah.
And the wording is actually, you know, leaving no one behind.
We've got 5 different vaccinations now.
You know, we've got 5 different vaccinations.
You know, there was one vaccination that was come out, and that was the Pfizer one, you know. In the space of, okay, right, the first vaccination...
The Chinese one out soon.
The first vaccination that was implemented into the UK was December the 20th, yeah, the first vaccination. That was the first lady that was vaccinated, that 94-year-old woman was vaccinated on the 20th, okay. So, in a month of these vaccinations, yeah, we have had 5 different vaccinations. We've had 3 different new variants in a month of people being vaccinated. You know, that should start sending alarm bells ringing in your brain like, oh, we had 1 variant for a whole year. We've just started being vaccinated and 3 different variants have come into play. Do you understand what I mean?
That's very suspicious, isn't it?
Very suspicious.
Just as everyone's losing interest in coronavirus, you know, and the vaccine starts to come out, all of a sudden they want to ramp up the fear again.
Yeah, it was like, there was a point where, at least in my world anyway, it felt like there was no COVID, there was no lockdown, because it was off the TV, it wasn't talked about as much. You know, you could do more things, you know, you still had to wear the mask, etc.
We're looking forward to Christmas, weren't we?
Well, and then...
all of a sudden, you know, we've got this 5-day spell over Christmas where we can, see 4 different households?
I think so, 3 or 4, yeah, that's right.
You know, we're going to have this 5-day window, then all of a sudden, to knock that idea on the head, because I don't really want us doing all that. I don't really want us having all that freedom.
No.
So, you know, oh, right, okay, a new variant.
Yeah,
you know, let's destroy Christmas, new variant. Let's make the vaccine sound like more of a good idea. New variant. Oh, now we've got a South African variant, and we've got a Brazilian variant.
The reason why they're trying to get you to stop loving Christmas is because when they bring in these laws and these laws that they're bringing in now, it's basically, they're going to say that you are the reason why global warming happens. So these big people, basically believe that the planet is on a verge of extinction because the polar ice caps have melted. It's about to build...
Question to ask, how do we build back better?
To build back better or whatever.
We have a chance to reset the clock
and build back better than before.
To build back better than before.
Remember the terrible damage of COVID as we try to build back from this global pandemic.
Joe Biden calls it Build Back Better.
Build back better.
Building back better.
To do things differently. To build back better.
We're going to build it back better.
And build it back better.
My plan to build back better.
Start taking all the problems that have been created in education and mental health and start to build back in a positive way.
I have launched a booklet called Build Back Better, written after coronavirus.
It's about building this country back better.
Growing conspiracy following it. It is called the Great Reset.
An unprecedented opportunity to rethink and reset the ways in which we live.
The great opportunity for reset.
The theory even calls Mr. Biden's campaign slogan, Build Back Better, a front for the conspiracy.
Build back better.
Building back better our economy.
Build back better.
All elements of the Great Reset are fundamental to building the future we need.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset.
It's a big effort to, some would say, to build back better. We would say to really have a great reset.
Conspiracy, conspiracy.
Conspiracy.
Right.
So where was we at again?
We were talking about that as Agenda 2030 sees it, as the UN sees it, our life as it is or was
is unsustainable.
Is unsustainable.
So basically,
because of climate change.
Yeah, and what I was going on about that, these people are so obsessed with like saving the planet, but then they're still getting beef mass produced, in the world, and beef is like 60% of the world's pollution and greenhouse gases and everything else. Yeah. So like, if they cared about our well-being and everything, they would stop eating meat. We'd all stop eating meat if it was if this global warming thing and these climates change, the climate always changes. Yeah, it's a 25,920 year cycle our planet has. We have 4 seasons in our planet. If the more that you understand this and understand within, you will understand that these people are chatting absolute nonsense and they're trying to profit off of our slavery and constantly just doing this. Like, these same people are the same people that said, no, we're not going to give you food vouchers. It took a football player to give these people a voice to get these food vouchers, and then when they did it anyway, they didn't even give the right, they were meant to give you a £30 food voucher, but they spent like £3-4 on a box, and these are the same people that are telling you, build it back better, but the better is for them. They're bettering them, they're not building us
and
back
not only
better.
that phrase is being used all over the world now by practically every country that COVID is in, every country that's in
fact-checked everything.
Because what's actually happening here with the lockdowns is that the lockdowns are not there for our protection or the public's protection. They're there to delete small businesses, medium-sized businesses, until there's nothing left but corporations. Like Asda. What did I pick on Asda?
Asda,
Amazon,
Google, all of these big brands. You see them everywhere, but do you know the reason why you see them everywhere is because they are the only ones that are open. Like, I can't go to my local cafe, my local cafe that I used to go and get a cup of coffee from with like oat milk or something in, it's closed. It's not allowed to be open. But Costa's open, Caffè Nero's open, these big corporations are open. Greg's still open, do you understand? That's a franchise.
They're pretty big, aren't they?
Yeah, they're pretty big. You think about how many local bakeries there are, there's always a Greg's. There's always a Greg's. So there is obviously a hidden agenda by these companies, the reason why they get so big so quickly. Why do they get so big so quickly?
Exactly,
do you understand?
And also, there's one of the main buzzwords going around at the moment is the Great Reset. Now, the Great Reset, of course, is being run by the World Economic Forum. It's being supported by Prince Charles.
So what is that guy's name? Klaus?
Professor Klaus Schwab.
Klaus
Schwab.
Yeah.
He's the main. I think he's the. He's like the director behind the
whole thing. Yeah.
The World Economic Forum. Yeah. They're doing this thing called the Great Reset.
It's German,
Great Reset. Sorry.
Klaus is German, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yeah. So if anyone watching this video, just type into Google the Great Reset, and it will come up the World Economic Forum. It's an official.
Well, they sell a book on Amazon, don't they?
They sell a book on the book which Klaus Schwab actually wrote. He wrote the book.
He called it COVID-19 Great Reset.
He did, yeah.
When did he write this?
I guess it would have been at the start of 2020 or the year before, perhaps 2019. I'm not entirely sure. But the interesting thing is if you go to the UN website and you look at Agenda 2030, you start looking at the goals, right? They're basically riding COVID-19 right the way through it. So you look at all the goals and there will be, first of all, they will say, before COVID-19, this and that was a problem. And then they'll come in and say, right, COVID-19 implications, and it's just like for every goal, they're doing this. So the whole thing is framed with COVID-19. So it's just like they're driving it for every aspect of this agenda. And of course, what is happening is the World Economic Forum, the Great Reset, of course, is the enactment of Agenda 2030. So they're the ones that are putting it, they're the ones that are actually bringing it in. It's the operation to bring it in.
And these same people that are bringing in this Agenda 30, okay, right, we're in 2021 now. When Agenda 30 came in and this is all into place, that's only 9 years, These people are at a certain age now, that they are like, they're not going to be here in the next 20, 30 years. Do you understand? If they've got pre-existing health conditions and that themselves and everything else, if they're not looking after themselves.
Well, it's another aspect, isn't it?
It's like Bill Gates.
A big aspect of this is the population,
Yeah.
So, if anyone wants to type in now, if anyone wants to type into either YouTube or TED or whatever, if you want to type in, let me just think of a name. So it's there's a video that Bill Gates did. It's Innovation to Zero. So there's a video that Bill Gates did back in 2010. It's called Innovation to Zero. It's about getting carbon emissions down to zero. Yeah. And he brings out this formula, and it's like people times services times energy, etc., etc. This is about 4 minutes 30 in. And he literally comes out and says, let's take a look at this formula. Let's see how we can get CO2 down. First of all, we'll look at people. And he says something along the line of, the current population is something like 6.8 billion people. Yeah. It's going to go up to 9 billion people. And then he comes out and says, if we do a really great job with vaccines, healthcare, something else, services, we can get that number down by about 10 to 15%.
And let's take that 10-15% off of that, You're talking about 3 billion, maybe even 4 billion people are going to have to die.
So the question you have to ask yourself is, how many people are going to die during the duration of forcing this, this scam pandemic on us? How many people are going to die from depression? How many people are going to die from taking the vaccine and having bad reactions to it?
Yeah, you've got to think, how many people are going to die from missing their cancer?
How many people are going to die from illnesses that no longer get into hospital?
Yeah, because of COVID-19.
Heart disease.
The thing is too, I keep hearing on the news all the time that hospitals are overrun constantly, but then I see videos of hospitals that are completely empty. I'm stuck in this middle of what is real and what's not real. Am I going to believe these Joe Day blogs that are going out and filming these hospitals, or am I going to believe the BBC News?
Well, I think it's a cross section really, because we have to look at it from both points, right? Because we definitely know there are hospitals out there that are virtually empty because we've seen it, and you know, all right, you might not have seen it in the mainstream media. We've seen it because people have been in there filming hospitals. But I also do think there are hospitals that are, you know, they are overrun with sick people. And why are they overrun with sick people? Because of all the nurses that come into contact with those sick people, or you know, people that have supposedly got COVID-19. What do? Send them home to self-isolate for 14 days. So you probably got hospitals out there which are running at less than 50% capacity because all their nurses and doctors are off self-isolating.
Maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's all that they had to sack a load of people off because if you think of it rightly, you have to keep a 2 metre distance. You have to maintain social distancing in a hospital. So you're gonna lose half of your capacity of a hospital anyway because of social distancing rules. Let's just say that.
That's not the point.
Let's not say about people.
That's a very good point.
If you think of it, you look at these people that are not going to be working anymore. You've got to think, oh, I'm going to have to half my staff too. So then people, you know, you're not going to have a job no more.
And perhaps we should just say this, right? I mean, we've been protesting in Bournemouth personally, I've been protesting in Bournemouth for a couple of months now. We've just come back from a protest in Winchester. We know a lot of people in our groups. We've got about probably nearly 100 people within the Bournemouth group of people we know and so forth. And in amongst our clan, we've actually got people that work for the NHS. I think I definitely know of one. I think there's two. You know, and people, you know, like nurses, doctors are coming forward. They are saying, look, something's very funny here, and people might boohoo it and say that, you know, you're conspiracy theorists or whatever, the all done terms, whatever they want to say. But at the end of the day, if you go out to a protest and someone next door to you is protesting with you, and they say, oh yeah, you know, I work for the National Health. What does that tell you?
Yeah, that's the thing. I've gone to protests in London too, and you know, I've even done an interview with a nurse, you know, and he's basically spoke up about. I have nurses personally, message me and giving me information about ingredients of vaccinations because I can't find it anywhere because it's completely fact checked. Messaging me saying that I saw your live about you asking about the ingredients you don't know. Actually, I have the ingredients here. Here you go. Do you know what I mean? So, and I've had nurses come up to me. You know, I've done a live stream with a nurse on my Instagram too that didn't want to show her face. She made a whole new account just to go on live, just to voice her opinion on the live stream. So
you gotta think.
Why are these people hiding themselves so much of what they're doing? Is it because they know if they speak out about what's going on inside of those hospitals, they're going to lose their livelihoods? Because think of it, everyone else has lost their livelihoods. Anyone that's had qualifications.
It's the same with the crazy cops as well, isn't it? I mean, it's almost like the cops are on. It's almost like they're robots on testosterone 100%. At the moment, and it's kind of like, well, if they don't go along with this, if they don't go along with what the government says. Then, you know, they're going to lose their livelihoods.
The thing is, too, I'm sick and tired of people saying about, police swore underneath an oath and everything else. The thing is, the Queen, obviously Prince Charles is a part of this Build It Back Better, this whole agenda of Gender 30.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so they swore an oath onto Her Majesty the Queen, but the Her Majesty the Queen is the one that controls the government. Yeah? Everything that they say and do has to go through the government. So really, they've only sworn an oath to protect her and not protect and serve the public. They've only.
That's a good point.
So basically they swore an oath on to protect and serve the Queen's version of her public.
Right.
Yeah? Do you understand?
Well, they're certainly not serving the people now, are they? All they're doing is serving the agenda. That's all they're doing.
100%.
I mean, if you see any of the protests, there's a really good protest channel on YouTube, Subject Access. You know, if you watch some of his videos, he follows all the protests up in London and other cities as well. And if you just see how the police are behaving these days, they are.
100%.
I mean, they're like, I don't know,
what are they
like? Squads. They're marching in like the army. They're just totally running out and jumping on people, 6 and 7 of them at a time, wrestling to them on the ground. And
small ladies. Do you ever realise they always pick on small ladies?
Yeah.
What I'll do anyway, or this thing that we're doing right now, interview, whatever you want to call it, a podcast. What I'll do, I'll put a load of videos of how the police have been acting that with people, just where we've just said about it, and I'll add it all in there to show people, like, you know, if this is to protect us, you know, protect and serve the public, they're doing this under public health. Funny enough, you know, George Orwell was, the book is created in 1984, so the Public Health Act was very first created in 1984 because of the HIV outbreak and everything, yeah? So they've renewed that act, and I'll add it in here for you too, then you'll see basically the act where it's created and then basically what they can do in this act. And you'll actually be very shocked at what they can do to you now with just having COVID-19. You will start to think like, oh my God, they can literally remove me out of my house and my parents are not allowed to see me. They can put me into a facility where I have to be self-isolated. You know, you could die, you know, and you'll never be able to see your parents again, you know. So it's just a scary situation that they have that much power.
Lots of people have died in hospitals and they've not had no one with them when they die, have they?
And the ventilators too. Ventilators actually cause more of an infection to your lungs.
And also the forcing people or
the resuscitation.
The DNRs, making them sign DNRs on
resuscitation.
Resuscitation.
Yeah.
So basically, they're saying to them, right, you know, we're so busy at this time. We've got this pandemic. We're overrun, etc., etc. We might not be able to if you pass away, we probably won't be able to resuscitate you because we've got other emergencies. So you need to sign a DNR, and of course that is where they're getting a lot of their deaths from. So the more people that go into hospital, the more they can get people to sign DNRs, the more people they cannot resuscitate if they die of whatever cause.
Yeah.
And then it just goes on and on and on. So the numbers build and numbers build. So, you know, I mean, these numbers are unimaginable, really, and
100%.
This is one of the things that woke me up. I mean, how are they counting all these deaths all throughout the first lockdown? Where are all these death figures coming from? Why are they so high? I mean, if you were to do the total number of people that have died in England.
In 2020 it was only 511,000 people altogether.
It's not that different from previous years.
Yeah, and in 2019 it was 528,000 people. So less people died last year, but there was a global pandemic. Crazy. What's the next question that you got to say?
Yeah, come on.
And then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, all good. So what? So obviously we talked about the UK a lot. What do you think about other countries, such as like how they're dealing with the situation, such as like China, Russia, Germany, anywhere really?
Russia and Norway and that, they're actually taking a stand. They're actually going out on the streets, and showing that the government that we're not going to abide by these draconian laws. And same as with like China, you know, they're trying to go out and take a stand, but basically the draconian laws over there are so far pushed down them that they believe that government is God anyway.
They've already got the model, haven't they, essentially? I mean...
They don't have a monarchy, you know, the government rule everything over
there. You know, people really need to do some research on China if they don't know what's going on in China, because China has got this whole draconian system. It's surveillance cameras all over the place. It's got an income, a social credit system. So if you don't behave like a model citizen, you don't get your full social credit.
Well, you have your whole money cut off of you. And that's what they want to do for the rest of the world.
Exactly.
The contactless thing and everything else that's happening is it's so crazy. Like
so basically, what we're driving at is the model for the rest of the world, or the West, or you know, us, America, Europe.
Yeah, we'll just be speaking Mandarin in the next. So gender 30. Yeah.
We should all learn Mandarin. Yeah.
No, we should. 100%. If you do not want to learn Mandarin, then get up, take a stand. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to be speaking Mandarin, and it would have been exactly the same in the Second World War. If Hitler won, you would have been speaking German. 100%. But now, in the next 10 to 15 years, everyone will be speaking Mandarin, and if you do not comply to be in this part of the thing, then you won't exist. You will have your money taken away from you. And, they've got detention centres for Muslims over there. Okay? Have you heard about that? They've been happening for about 10 years over there.
Yeah, I've not looked into that in that greater detail, but I just know that China's like 24/7 surveillance in all the cities. It's a very draconian regime, and I know that there's a social credit system, and you get your social credits docked if you don't behave like a model system. There's different tiers, different grades, and also you can get blacklisted, stopped from put on sort of no-fly zones and stuff like that. You're not allowed to go and travel. You can't get on the train and stuff like that if you're not behaving properly. The Chinese, when they go out and protest, they put on face masks and everything else, anything to obscure the face so they can't get picked up by facial recognition cameras. So that just tells you how frightened they are of losing or getting blacklisted or losing their social credits. And getting downgraded through society until at the end of the day they're virtually
it's almost
nobody.
It's like universal credit. If you miss your phone call, like one phone call, you can have your wage, like your benefits cut in half just because you missed a phone call. It's crazy. Similar
this
sort
is
of
the
thing.
same thing. Like, this is the reason why they've called it universal credits. Okay, let's think of
that's a good point.
Let's think of it in a global way. Why did they change job seekers allowance into universal credits? It's to get ready for this. It's a segue. It's to get you ready for basically the fourth industrial revolution. All of these people will have robots, and they'll get something called robot tax. Don't believe me? Go and research it yourself. They'll have something called robot tax, and that robot tax will basically make a state benefit for everyone in the world. So Amazon will be getting taxed. How much ever he's making. Amazon even sells food now. So you've got to think of it like
they sell everything. Don't they?
Sell everything.
Anything you want.
Anything you want, they've got it. It'll be dropped here by a drone. Okay. Maybe the future is amazing, but it doesn't have to be this draconian.
Are you aware that Bill Gates has bought up about 60% of the farmland in America?
That's what I mean. How dare he put all of these poor farmers out of business that have been farming all of this time?
So what I figure is he would be using that land to grow all the ingredients for these 3D burgers and stuff that they want us to be eating.
Well, it's...
they don't want us eating meat anymore.
No.
Because it's not sustainable. So they will be 3D printing burgers.
Well, it's a lab-grown lab-grown meat, isn't it? Ironically, like me and Rusty. Well, ironically, me and Rusty are both vegan, but like, he actually has shares in Beyond Burgers as well, which is something I don't eat because it is owned by Bill Gates. So he's got his finger in both pies, doesn't he? He's got
Beyond Burgers, aren't they made out of jackfruit?
I don't know. I think it's textured vegetable protein or something. But so that's like the push is to go on to like lab grown, genetic modified foods. Like at the end of the day, when it comes to sustainability, you can still eat meat, some types of meat, like animal flesh, and be sustainable, and not have that much of a knock on to the environment. Of course you can. I mean, from segue, I suppose, but like side point, like from a rights perspective, I would disagree with that completely, like animal rights.
100%.
But we both will. But like, it's like so clear, isn't it? With the food system, is broken, in my opinion. It's cheaper to buy, nachos or something, or junk food than it is to buy fresh organic fruit and vegetables.
You got to think of it at the moment. This is another lockdown that's happened. This is our fourth lockdown, and every time they lock us down, if they cared about your health so much, why are fast food restaurants that are mass-produced food? It's really bad food, but it's cheap.
And the only place that's open are McDonald's.
McDonald's and everything. But gyms are shut.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
doesn't make sense.
Natural pharmacies, you know, for natural remedies, they're closed.
Mhm.
You know, stuff that, you know, can give you exercise. Okay, skate parks. I've started realising skate parks are now being
it's like Dorchester.
Dorchester, yeah. I took a walk up there the other day. It's right opposite the police station, so good. You know, good luck trying to open that up. You know,
they've got a fence around
on the quiet. You know,
Yeah,
but
fence around
it's a fence around it, so you can't.
I did actually when I saw that, I did see people in there, so I thought to myself, good on them. Yeah, I would if I had my board with me. Then I would have, you know, fuck them, essentially.
Well, is that all we wanted to get off of our chest today?
The truth is, we can do so much more, but you know, time is scarce. But I think the thing to say is there's really no end to this.
No.
And you know, if this is the way you want your world to be within the next decade, just sit back and do nothing because it's coming. But if you think like us, then get off your ass and get
on the
out
streets.
there.
Stop being so demasculised.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't think that because you're...
you know, the vaccine is not the way out.
No.
It's not. They're already telling us that it's not going to stop you from getting COVID. You know, the only way out of this, I think, is enough people wake up, mass civil disobedience.
Totally agree.
You know, somehow we've
got organisation. We've got to be organised.
We've got to be organised, and somehow we've got to smash these lockdowns and stop them. Otherwise, there will be nothing left.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And it's multiple tactics as well. It's not just the protests. There's other things. There's like the Great Reopening, defying it. You know, even like rebelling, even like, you know, we shouldn't even be in each other's houses or cars or anything. You know, it's everything. It's rebelling.
It's good to see people.
Of course.
You're gonna have no immune system if you're not going near other life forms.
Exactly.
When you go to a life form and they might have a snivelly nose, you've got no immune system because you've been sitting at home for 6 months.
For sure.
So you need to get out and interact.
And hug your friends.
Yeah.
They tell us that they're trying to protect our health, or it's to protect our health, but everything they're getting us to do is unhealthy.
It is unhealthy.
For sure.
But on that bombshell, make sure you go and subscribe to lockdownunited.com.
Lockdownunite.com.
Lockdownunite.com. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thank